Fascism, racism, xenophobia, and Republicans can all be summed up in the name of one man, Donald Trump. After all, the media has spent about 4 years shoving the same phrases into our minds so valiantly that it doesn't seem far-fetched to call up the Webster Dictionary to change every word that could potentially antagonize the individual to Donald Trump. I mean, people are going bonkers after the conclusion of the 2024 election. Friends, family, and random people on the internet within the span of less than 24 hours have been blocked, berated, slandered, and mischaracterized just for exercising their democratic right to vote. At least, that's how it would seem. The battle between the Democrats and Republicans have been raging since the founding of our country, but never has it been an election in history as divided and destructive as the 2016 and 2024 elections. I remember the Victoria's Secrets in New York City on 33rd Street turned into a fucking Capital One cafe because a bunch of guys convinced themselves that COVID and Trump was the perfect excuse to rob and vandalize. It's the equivalent of spitting into your customer's soup after hearing their opinion on the Brett Kavanaugh situation. A disagreement in politics from a civilian perspective usually meant bad news for the guys in suits because that meant the stocks could drop against their favor. That'll be harder to push a bill, that some guy that worked his ass off to be nominated as president will have to bow out. Now it's straight up violence, childish behavior, and a revamp of lead. But why? Maybe it's something a bit more intricate and scientific that my boy Dallas can explain for us.
As many of you know, the election results have sparked intense debate and division. We're seeing a surge in hateful comments particularly directed towards Latino voters. There's also a notable trend of black men sharing demographic data showing approximately 74% of black men voted against Trump, stating things like, "Don't blame us for Trump's victory." This situation exposes a troubling paradox. The Democratic Party that champions anti-racism and unity is now witnessing its supporters engage in discriminatory and divisive behavior online. But why is this happening? For starters, this isn't new. Victimhood is a core part of liberal ideology, and liberalism ideas is what Democratic parties typically campaign on. One possible explanation lies in the neurochemistry of our brains. Endorphins, often associated with runner's high, are also released during periods of stress and sadness. While exercise can trigger endorphin release, it's often easier to dwell in negativity. This is where the concept of victimhood comes into play. Some argue that a sense of victimhood can become a source of endorphins. Feeling marginalized can lead to sadness, triggering the release of these chemicals. This creates a feedback loop where the brain might subconsciously seek out situations that reinforce this feeling, even if it means engaging in divisive behavior. When this perceived victimhood is challenged, as it is by the Latino vote in this scenario, it can trigger a defensive and aggressive response, much like an addict deprived of their substance.
Smash and chill later, and by smash, I mean melee, and by chill, I mean more melee.
We see this manifested in the hateful rhetoric online. The biological underpinning of addiction, whether to substance or to a specific emotional states, are well documented. The same neural pathways are involved, which explains the difficulty in breaking these patterns.
Regardless of the reason why we oppose Donald or Kamala, what should be the most prominent and at the forefront of our minds is our basic morality. Yeah, our friends and family or someone we know probably said some things that broke you. Or at the very least, they made a joke at your expense. Either way, you didn't rage all-out war on them. You didn't recreate who he or she is as a person to fit a narrative that he or she is bad, because your connections with this person gave you a bias on their character. The media has always overreacted to Trump's escapades. From Trump's nomination for presidency in 2015 to the end of 2019, we've been hearing Orange Man bad on repeat without a sight on the horizon of when it'll ever stop. Have we ever considered that this was done to discredit someone the opposition targeted rather than genuine disapproval of his actions? Whether you pick Kamala or Trump is a choice that was given to you as an American citizen. Your ability to exercise that right is the reason why this country is so great. So be thankful that you're able to celebrate or be disappointed in your decisions, for it is far greater than being forced into allegiance with a dictator like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un. Whatever the remaining 4 years of this presidency may entail, just be sure to remember that the people next to you, whether they are Democrat or Republican, are human. Maintain your humanity, for it is the only thing you have left that separates you from the animals. Thank you for listening.